Don't blink, it's your boy Ink with another video. Guys are doing well, guys are having a fantastic day. Today we're talking about one of my passions, one of my favorite series of all time, and I'm talking about Chucky. So basically by the title, by the thumbnail, you basically know who Chucky is. I feel like before we talk about Chucky, we have to establish what is Chucky. So Chucky is a series, um, I want to say 80s, yeah, because the 80s slasher. What is the 80s slasher? 80s slasher were a genre of horror, with Chucky, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Hellraiser. We had Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know much about it. One of my favorites that, oh, you're gonna see me looking at my phone a lot during this video because we're doing a event for the tower, and your boy waited to the last minute, so I'm extremely late on the schedule, and that sucks because I have to keep up with the schedule, right? That being said, let's keep up with Chucky, right? All I have to do is we have a mission here. I know this doesn't have to do anything with Chucky. All I have to do is do a mission every couple minutes. I have to restart the game, activate some skills, and that's it. So Chucky, what is Chucky? Chucky is the killer Charles Lee Ray, that enters like a cult or black magic cult, and he's like, oh, I get reincarnate, and Charles Lee Ray. Charles Lee Ray is why the reality, the series Chucky is so good. We're having bubble tea, by the way. It bothers you when I slurp? Tough shit, cud. Tough shit, cuz. I was gonna say kid and cuz, and it went out like cud. Like the fish, I guess? So yeah, so Charles Lee Ray is the reason why Chucky is so popular. Charlie Lee Ray is this weird killer, right? And you're like, I have to go by my nose? Man, I fucking love Chucky. But the reality is, do you love Charles Lee Ray? So Charles Lee Ray wanted to become... Okay, so spoiler alert. I now understand, and it's crazy because I've been watching Child Play 1, 2, 3, and The Curse of Chucky. I've watched this movie, no lie, about 20 times. I don't know the line by heart, but I'm not far. Right, and the reality is, I never paid really attention to the books because, again, when I discovered Curse of Chucky, I went crazy on the Chucky universe, right? And I started watching them all. Curse of Chucky was my introduction, and the reason why we have a special crush for Curse of Chucky is because Curse of Chucky is my introduction to the horror genre. I didn't mention it before. My I was working at A&W. I was not working a lot, which as a guy that didn't like to work was a great thing. And I would pass by a Walmart, and Walmart had these $5 DVD bin. And I was like, dude, I can watch the same movie. I've watched this 20 times, right? For $5. So if you're good in math, $5 is 500 pennies. You watch it 40 times, means that you're about 12 cents a view. Right? So that's super reasonable, super rentable, a super explainable. So I watched this, but you realize that those $5 movie bin, when you go once a month or once every 3 months, it's really different. But if you go every single week and you buy two DVDs, you realize that soon enough those movies you already have. And it's funny because there was one movie that wasn't there before, and it was Curse of Chucky. Now I knew Chucky was a horror film, and as a kid was absolutely afraid of everything. That grew up to be an adult that was absolutely afraid of everything from a sheltered life. Chucky was something, and I was like, dude, I need to buy a movie because I'm bored shitless. Didn't have Wi-Fi, right? Didn't have cable. I didn't have cable, dudes. I didn't have cable, so all I could watch was DVDs. I was like, I need to be entertained, otherwise I'm gonna go fucking crazy, right? And by now you know that I've been bored because I'm absolutely fucking crazy. But at the very core, I was like, this is such a good movie. This is just such a good series. So I bought it, and I'll remember forever. And this was 10 years. This was before Boris' death. This was before Leia. I was 21. Can you do some for me? That was over a decade ago. And I still remember going to the bus stop and having this movie in my hands and being like, why the fuck did I buy this? I'm not gonna be able to watch it. And I watched it, and I fell in love in the very first listen. So I wanna so again with the event, um I wanna talk to you guys about my love for Chucky. I want to be doing a video that has to Chucky, but on the other hand, I want to do my personal vision, my personal experience with the movie. So let's do that instead. Um, I've watched Chucky, Curse of Chucky, and I fell in love. It was funny. It was yeah, it was really funny. It was a bit gory. It was such a good movie. I fell in love with Chucky right away because Chucky was this really creepy doll, but creepy in a good way. Not creepy as in your uncle's gonna touch you kind of way, but creepy as I make jokes and they're not funny, but I'm laughing and it's just odd, which is something I can relate to, weirdly. So, as a bonus to this video, we're going to be reading the description. He's back from the filmmaker that brought you Chucky comes the terrifying return of the pin-sized doll. Possessed by the spirit of a notorious serial killer, when a mysterious package arrives at the house of Nika, she doesn't give it much thought. However, after her mother's mysterious death, Nika begins to suspect that the talking red-haired doll, sorry again, visiting her niece has been playing with may be the key that the ensuing bloodshed, chaos, the return of American favorite toy, voiced again by Brad Dourif, is ironic and full of more blood splatter, thrills, and chill. You heard two names here, and you noticed something, and yeah, you're not wrong. But we're gonna be going in kind of like a non-chaotic way, which I know sounds crazy because I've been chaotic since the very beginning. I watched this, and I remember the first time watching this movie, a week. I I went crazy and I watched it every single day for a week. What I'm not saying is I didn't have Wi-Fi, I didn't have cable. That's not technically true. I had a store near to my house that had Wi-Fi. So what I did was I went to the old YouTube and I watched Child Play. I downloaded Child Play 1, 2, and 3, and then watch it. The first one, I'm sorry. If you're a Child Play fan, if you're a Chucky fan, I'm sorry to say this because this is gonna be offensive. The first one is dog shit, right? It's if you look at the first one, you're like, how the fuck did it go further than the first one? And that has to do with the era. So in the 80s, what is okay? So Chucky is a doll that moves, right? So it was like a little robot, and so far the robot couldn't do much. So to do that to cover the fact that they couldn't do much with the doll, what they did was half of the movie the doll is just a doll and it's talking and Andy's here because it doesn't want to talk. It's talking and Andy's here because you can have the doll pretend that a kid is hearing it. It has the suspense, right? And it has to the fact that this is truly a doll and this is truly cool because it somewhat makes sense. It would whisper in her ear because they want to stay like a doll, which the movie was shit, but the concept was great. We visit the church of Amdullah or Amdallah. Give me the spirit, I beg of you. And yeah, so this is basically the cult, the dark magic that allows Chucky to reincarnate or to transfer his soul, right? And that's why he's Chucky. So before we continue, I have to tell you what happened. In the first one. So the story is this Brad Dourif who plays Charles Lee Ray kills people. He's a serial killer. He gets cornered in a toy store. And he's transferred his spirits into the good guy doll. The good guy doll is then sold to a family with Andy Barkley and his mother. Andy Barkley is okay. So the main character is arguably Chucky, but Chucky's a bad guy. So if you're a person that likes movie, the main character is Andy Barkley. Now the greatest thing about Child Play is the main character of the first one, the second one, the third one is Andy Barkley. He's the main character. So the first one is dog shit. The second one is a cult classic. The second one is absolutely phenomenal. I'm reading the book right now and it's great. why it's so great? Because we're seeing Chucky shine, right? And the third one, so it's kind of like, so the second one is brilliant. It's funny. It's great. It's the gore scene, the horror scene, Chucky and himself, Andy. And the first one, Andy is this very shy kid, and the second one, Andy is now fully aware that Chucky is a real thing, and he wants to convince people that it's a real thing. The third one, I wouldn't say the second one my favorite, but the third one is, this is the second one. This is the first one. The first one is not great. The second one and the third one are neck and neck. Now, the reason why the second one is my favorite is because, again, it's about Chucky. The second one is more about Andy Barkley per se. Now, in this one, we're seeing Andy Barkley now as a teen, and Andy Barkley understand that nobody's gonna fucking help him for Chucky. Nobody's gonna help him. So he's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna fight you, right? I'm gonna fight you and I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill Chucky, right? And the greatest thing in all of these movies and all of this is that Chucky, right? Why he's so charming again? Because he's a doll, and Chucky, he wants to transfer his soul into a kid's soul and into a kid's body because he know that if he kills as a kid, nobody's gonna suspect a kid. But the reality isn't that. The reality is Charles Lee Ray, and you see it in the second book. Charles Lee Ray began to kill in the second. He was a kid. In the second book, he said, "Oh, he started killing." Now, the true irony of that is, Charles Lee Ray killer instinct comes from his mother. His mother was a little person, and she hated being a bit little person. So there's this hatred of little people for Charles Lee Ray, sorry, Brad Dourif. And it's kind of crazy because he ends up in that doll body, and he's like, yeah, this is not so bad. So he felt bad, or he hated his mom, and then he realized that what she was going through, he lived her life. He understand where all the anger come from. Chucky, again, is phenomenal because he's really weird, he's really sadistic, he's a bad person. He likes to swear, and it's funny because he swears and he's next to children. Now, the funniest thing is, Chucky always have the very same tactic. Find a kid, becomes his friend, transfer your body. You see this in the first one, and Curse of Chucky. So and the third one, and Curse of Chucky. The problem that Chucky has, right? Chucky, the biggest problem he had is he told the secret to Andy, and he can only transfer his soul into the first person he tells is Andy. So that's why he's so inclined to get Andy. That's why he doesn't kill Andy. Right, so again, we got Chucky, which is one of my favorite series. So the first three are meant as a trilogy. And the third one, Andy Barkley is now an adult. And he's like, fuck you, Chucky, I'll take care of you, right? And then do you realize why Chucky is my favorite series? Because at the very beginning of this video, I mentioned the 80s. I mentioned the 80s slasher theme. So if you've been following, and I hope you've been following, otherwise I'm talking for no reason. If you if you've been following, Chucky, right, is the only one. We don't hear about Jason Voorhees anymore. And if we do, it's because they're fans. We don't see new stuff from Jason Voorhees. We don't see Freddy Krueger anymore. And it's sad because those guys were arguably greater. If you look at Jason Voorhees, he was a greater killer than Chucky. If you look at Freddy Krueger, it was a it's a better concept of Chucky, right? And then even you see Freddy versus Jason, which is the last opium of those two series. And then you see Chucky, and you're like, why did a doll survive? Well, first of all, there's a cult following for Chucky, but Chucky is basically such a brilliant thing. So, and the very first tree, they know they have to be serious, but the tree, after the tree, there's a lot of movies. So there's The Bride of Chucky and then Seed of Chucky. There's Curse of Chucky. So Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky are these two movies together. Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky are these two together. Now there's a reboot and there's a show. We all gonna be seeing this in this video, right? So it's so good. I'm sorry. I'm in love. I'm in love with the Coco. No, I'm in love with Chucky, to be honest. Do you realize that Chucky was more of a joke than a horror? And then Cedar Chucky and in Bride of Chucky and in Curse of Chucky, do you realize that the reason this show was popular was because of Chucky? Do you realize it was more of a joke? So they completely changed. It stopped being about horror. There's still some horror scene, there's still some gore scene, there's still a lot of scene that are really, really fun. But it's more about Chucky and it's more about being funny. And do you realize that if they could build up the character of Chucky, people would follow. They didn't need the character of Andy. And it sucks because Andy is a great character. Andy is fundamentally the. So sorry, I'll be honest. To me, Chucky is the MVP. To me, Chucky is the absolute treasure of the Chucky series. But Andy Barkley is next to him. Because in the very first book, Andy Barkley is this shy kid. He has his mom, and she's overprotective. She's sheltering him. In the second one, he misses his mom. It's his first time being alone. He has to face the world alone. He has to face Chucky. And in the third one, he's now a teen. He lives a normal life. He has crushes, right? And he wants to kill Chucky. So you have this character development, and you can understand where's he coming from. He came from this scared kid. He came from being a scared kid. He became a kid that was hopeless, and then he became a kid that was independent and ready to do what needed to be done, right? And it's funny because in the second book, he tried so hard and got so far. Shout out to Chester Bennington, rest in peace, my friend. In the second book, he tried so hard to get people to believe him. And in the third book, he's like, I know nobody's gonna believe me, so I'll take care of it, right? And it's phenomenal to me. It's such a brilliant thing because Andy Barkley did have this. He did have this character development, and although I do like the character development, like I don't know if I would have liked a adult Andy Barkley versus Chucky. I don't know if I would like that. I feel like it would have been too much. Like in the third one, he's a teen, but I would say he's like 15, 16 maximum. So he's like a teen, but he's not an adult, and he's still considered as a child, right? Because you got the childhood for the first like 12 years of your life. You got teenage years for what? For I'm gonna say 6 or 7, and the rest of your life you're an adult, right? And then the craziest thing is they really focus. So a lot of people they hate the two movies I'm going to talk about, which is Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. I am not a biggest fan of those movies. I don't think they're bad. I don't think they're great. The reason why I really like them though is because we're building up the character of Chucky. We're building up, and those movies are not so much about Chucky as this funny doll. It's about the character of Chucky. So Charles Lee Ray had a girlfriend, which was Jennifer Tilly, amazing actress, and she was like, dude, I really really like him. I really enjoy Charles Lee Ray. I want to be in love with him. And then it's kind of crazy because there's severe hints that Jen or Jennifer Tilly, she likes Chucky. I'm sorry for the mission. I know it's annoying, but I have to. Jennifer Tilly, she's in love with Chucky, but Chucky doesn't really like her back. So when he decides to reincarnate into a doll, he doesn't take in charge her emotion. He's like, fuck her, I don't care. And then she becomes a doll, and it becomes a bride of Chucky. So they're together, and it's like cool because again, you have Chucky, and the best thing about those two, the best thing about those two movies is that Chucky at the very end is like, fuck being a human. I want to be a doll. I want to be a fucking doll. And that's when Jennifer Tilly, she's like, okay, you want to be a doll? I'll be a doll. We'll be a doll together. I don't care. So she becomes a doll also. And those two, they become this relationship. And Seed of Chucky. Seed of Chucky is one of the worst Chucky. It's possibly the worst Chucky movie. We have his kids. It's really woke. The kid's like trans. Doesn't have a assigned gender at birth. And the kid is like, oh, he's super soft. I don't want to be a killer. And then Charles is like, yo, you're going to be a killer. You're the son of Charles Lee Ray. You're going to be a killer. So the Seed of Chucky is Bride of Chucky was almost romantic. Seed of Chucky is almost a father-son movie, and we love those. You've been seeing a lot of them. You've been seeing The Last of Us, right? And it's really a father-son film, which to me is phenomenal because at the end of the day, we like Chucky. The Chucky can only do so much. So if you've seen characters like Kakarot from Dragon Ball, if you've seen characters like Meredith Grey from Grey's Anatomy. Those have been the same character for years, and those storylines run out. So Chucky, there's only so much he can do. In Curse of Chucky, we're back to the horror thing, right? But this one, the reason why it's my favorite is this one has been released 2 decades, around 2 decades, more than 2 decades after this. So people hated the two movies, City of Chucky and Bride of Chucky's. Went back with something horror. This is more of a horror film. It's funny. So this why is so good. Why Curse of Chucky is to me is a masterpiece because they understand that the public wants a horror movie, but they understand that the public doesn't take Chucky seriously. So it's like again, it's funny, it's horror, right? The reason why I love this movie so much is because the plot is amazing, right? We realize that Brad Dourif had a girl before Jennifer Tilly, and he kidnapped a girl, and that's ultimately the reason he gets arrested. Now, his daughter, the daughter of the woman, not Chucky's, is her, which is Nina Dobrik. Fiona Dourif. I do like the name Fiona, mainly because of Shameless, but that's another show. So Fiona, she's the child of the girl Chucky kidnapped, and during the pregnancy, Chucky had a knife, and he basically cut Fiona up, and Fiona she's in a wheelchair because of that, right? We're seeing Fiona's mother to be very very overprotective, and the reason why she's overprotective is because she was kidnapped, which means that Fiona lived a very sheltered life. And then we have Chucky, and Chucky is basically a gift for her daughter. And then we realize that the reason Chucky is after Fiona is because he now knows that the woman. No, I have my bubble tea, but I cannot drink them, which is a fucking shame. Realize that Chucky was able to kill every victim except for two, Andy Barkley and the mother of Fiona. So he goes after the mother of Fiona, and he's like, oh, she have a daughter, I'll have to kill her too. So, and basically what is great about this movie is Fiona, she's really smart, and she really corners the character like, oh, you have a fear of inferiority. She understands why he's like that. She understands why he's a killer, right? And the greatest thing about this movie is that it's the family that it become. So if you listen carefully when I read the description, Brad Dourif played Chucky. Fiona Dourif, yeah, sorry, is his daughter. So they took out the daughter for the main actor, and his daughter is basically the enemy of Brad Dourif. And when you look at DVD, when you look at the behind the scene, you see a Brad that's really old. And we got the interview with her, what it was like growing up with Chucky as your father. And it's crazy because we're realizing that Chucky not only has been this cult series, but has been the history. There's generation now, right? There's a father and a daughter. At the end of the movie and the deleted scene, we see Andy Barkley, now an adult, kill Chucky, which is super cool, right? And this is basically Cult of Chucky. To be quite honest, I never got my hands on it. I've watched it a couple of times, but I didn't watch it enough for me to be really, really knowledgeable about this movie. I know that Fiona, she said, oh, the doll kill us all. So Fiona basically ends up in a mental institute, and Chucky goes there, and Chucky is now able to control multiple body, which was an idea that was scrapped, right? So yeah, so I'm not gonna be able to talk about it. Curse of Chucky, I did watch it 20 times more. Child Play 1, I possibly watched it 5 or 6 times, just because I don't really like it. Child Play 2, I've watched it over 20 times too. And Child Play 3, although it's really good, I possibly watched it over 15 times maybe, 10 to 15, somewhere around that. Cult, I watched it twice. Then there was a reboot, and the reboot I absolutely hated. The reboot is cool because, again, we're getting a Child Play 1 that is up to date and that actually makes sense. It's not a fucking doll. And when I say it's not a fucking doll, it was in the 80s. It wasn't so much they could do, right? But what is really great about this one is about what's really great about this one, about the Child Plays, about the City of Chucky, Bride of Chucky, about Curse of Chucky, and Cult of Chucky is Chucky. Now, I believe that Brad Dourif sadly passed away. I'm not sure. But in the reboot, they have this character that is Chucky. And basically, Chucky is this animated doll. They have this chip. And basically, the reason why this chip is a killer is because the programmer, being constantly harassed by his boss to work harder, implement a very evil program. So you still have Chucky, but you don't have Brad Dourif. So that's why I don't like it. But they do have a series that I have to catch up, where apparently Chucky is back to being the Chucky we love. And yeah, this is why Chucky is my favorite series. Small recap. First horror series that understand its flaws, that recap them. Horror story that's not afraid to explore, and the horror series that understand that it's been there for a while, and there's pros of being there. There's this family. There's this sense of of belonging somewhere. And yeah, such an amazing series. Love you guys. Take it easy. Peace.